Judd Apatow this past weekend releasing video on demand, The King of Staten Island, basically the Pete Davidson story, starring Pete Davidson, obviously, Marissa Tomei, Bill Burr, Maud Apatow. Who else we got in this? I mean, Steve Buscemi,
Ricky Velez. The comic is one of his boys. Moises Arias, the former Disney star, is one of his boys. Lou Wilson from American Vandal is one of his boys. And then, what's his girl? Who plays girl? Belle Powley?
Oh, yeah, she's great.
She was great. I believe I did not know about her. She was on the morning show recently. But lovely Staten Island accent. He looks like Antonio Banderas. Oh, she was great. Yeah, good cast. Sneaky. Oh, and you said Buscemi? Yeah. And Jimmy Tatro from American Vandal and Bad Education, who once again is being typecast as the airhead guy. I feel bad for him.
Nah, but he keeps getting those roles though. So
the money boy.
Yeah, keep getting that work.
Oh, Action Bronson too.
Yes. Oh my God, so good. Just like popping up later on.
I fell in a thorn bush. So good. Definitely improv.
You're definitely going to die. Oh, you think so? No, I'll be good.
No cops.
I really enjoyed The King of Staten Island. I felt like it was a little bit long and maybe dragged at a couple of parts, but I thought it was really funny. And I thought Bill Burr and Pete Davidson were fantastic. I'd never seen either one of them give performances like they gave in this. Which I think speaks to not only how much Pete put of himself into this script and this role, but also Burr just been this, a comic top tier guy for a while, really getting to display some acting chops with, I think, probably his biggest role. So we've seen him in Breaking Bad with some bit parts and, some small roles here and there, but he really gets a lot to work with here, especially alongside Marissa Tomei. I think they have great chemistry as a couple in this. So just some really good performances. What were you most struck by with this?
Yeah, I mean, I'd already been kind of coming around and rooting for Pete's film career after Big Time Adolescence, which came out back in March, right when quarantine started on Hulu. Mm-hmm. And it's been clear that Pete has good acting chops, but to this point, he really is still kind of playing similar versions of the same character, largely what we associate with him being himself. And now that having this film come out, which is obviously semi-autobiographical, lots of pretty easy to grasp touchstones to what we know about Pete Davidson in terms of the death of his dad and his mental health and things like that. Drug use, I guess, as well. Type of humor he likes to use, all that kind of stuff. But it still makes sense. And maybe we'll learn in time that this is like the breadth of Pete Davidson's acting range. Still, jury's still out on that. How much farther he can go as an actor. But to your point, he does kind of, I think, do a lot here. The way it handles mental health in this movie is quite subtle. It's never explicitly laid out in the script. It's really more about the way Pete delivers his lines and the way characters talk about his character. And I really like that. And to your point about Bill Burr, he's also someone that I haven't really thought much of anything about as an actor, but he just seems to be getting more and more roles. He's on Mandalorian last year, But he was honestly perfectly cast as a bit of a deadbeat firefighter guy who has his own issues. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think you're right. The chemistry between Pete and Burr is the key, and they both are able to run with Apatow dialogue and improv as necessary. So that all really works and really meshes together. But the movie, because it's semi-autobiographical, I guess, maybe because it's a long Apatow movie like Funny People, there's a lot of heart to it and a lot of dramatic stuff. It's really more of a dramedy. It's not like Knocked Up. There's not like joke after joke after joke. It's not one of those Apatow films. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just going to resonate with people when they watch it because it just kind of comes together in a great way.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think a point I really liked that you made was how mental health is portrayed in this, but not really spoken about. Like you see when Marissa Tomei tells Pete he needs to move out, or Scott, that the character Scott, that he needs to move out, how he's like really angry at first and switches to like, what did I do? Like, I'm sorry. It's like that quick switch to like that fear. He kind of reverts back to that like 7-year old when he lost his dad in that way. And I also like that they really set this up with uh, the heart of it being, should these heroes, these first responders, be who put their lives on the line every single day, might not be coming home every single day, should they have families, and because of the impact it can have on them, and kind of Scott grappling with that question and kind of coming around on it through his experiences with Bill Burr, not his dad, but this person who takes on a bit of like a fatherly figure in his life, and connects him with other like fatherly and brotherly figures through the fire department. And I thought the scene where they really set that up when they go to the Staten Island Yankees was a really, really good scene. I think they the acting in that is done really well because Pete kind of like lets them have it, and they like push back, but not in a way where it's like, yo, shut the fuck up. They're like, whatever, like,
Yeah,
you can have your
excellent.
opinion. Yeah, it's just so well done. And Buscemi, I think, is like the perfect like heart of the movie, so to speak, in that, like the grandfatherly figure, kind of
Hmm.
helping Bill Burr
Former
navigate
firefighter
all
too.
this. Yeah, and then helping Pete Davidson's character navigate all this. Just really expertly written and well done. How did you feel about that as like the central like driving plot point, I guess, throughout the story?
I think through knowing the story of Pete Davidson, the guy, which
Mm-hmm.
I assume most people that are watching this movie are doing it because of Pete's celebrity
Mm-hmm.
or they're big Apatow fans. But like, we kind of know this about Pete because it's been such a central part about his comedy and his career to this point. The fact that he can be so self deprecating and open about personal tragedy and stuff like that. That's kind of like the whole it of Pete Davidson, right? So we kind of know that, and you kind of sense that it's going to be semi biographical, especially when you watch the trailers and you realize that the firefighters are going to come in.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I wasn't like wowed by any of like plots, but I think just because the themes are handled in I think a really warm, effective way, it's still an enjoyable watch, even if nothing's gonna really like take you by surprise.
Mm-hmm.
So it's well put together.
Did you feel like um did you feel like the use of like that theme and like just Scott overall struggling with that was um effectively like softened by his interactions with the kids, because I actually found those moments really endearing when he's like walking Bill Burr's kids to school, and he's like really pumping up the daughter for her singing ability, and Harold, I think the brother, for
Yep.
his. I thought that was a really like humanizing like way to help that character grow and soften a bit.
Yeah, for sure. I think that was really good, and it was kind of abrupt to how when I believe it's when he gets kicked out by his mom that he's like, all right, fine, fuck it, let's go rob the pharmacy.
Mm-hmm.
After being so against it, that kind of felt like a weird tonal shift, and I
Yeah.
guess because we subtly are supposed to believe he has perhaps bipolar or something along those lines, that would explain the sudden mood shift when he faces some uncertainty. I'm not sure,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I think the stuff with the kids was well done. Harold was actually kind of funny, and
Yeah.
and having that build up with he shows his dad
The drawing.
the drawing of Iceman. Was that what he
Mm-hmm.
called him? Did he just call him Iceman?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was expecting Pete to be like, you can't do that. We already have that guy. He's on the X-Men. I thought he was just going to be like, you can't invent this guy. He's already invented. But that's not the joke
Yeah.
he made.
No. And I also thought that was great to like show that Pete actually is competent at something, or Scott is competent at something in this story, because you
Mhm.
kind of see his tattoos and there's a couple that are good, but most of them there's like something really off about them, whether it's the eyes, which he can just never get right. He does them too dark, or like not be able to like draw the tattoos well enough to get a job at the parlor. And I think that was a moment where you kind of see the movie shift, because Bill Burr also then is more like, oh, this kid actually has potential and could be something, and maybe I should give him a second shot. Um, I do agree about the tonal shift. I felt like a lot of the stuff, if there was one part that I maybe would have just cut out, would have been that whole robbery. But I think they needed to have those friends in jail so that Pete didn't have anywhere else to stay, right? That's kind of
Yeah, that makes
like
sense.
why that
Yeah.
had to happen. Um, but then I thought all the stuff at the firehouse was excellent, really engaging. I thought where it ended up was good too. It didn't have like that moment where there was like that super light bulb moment, but you kind of see him allowing himself to have something good in his life by the end in terms of the
Hmm.
relationship with his girlfriend and um, ending with Pursuit of Happiness playing as he looks up at the New York City Manhattan skyline. Very cool ending, I thought.
And they use another Cuddy drop, "Just What I Am," to start the film
Mm-hmm.
too, which also is a bit meta because we know Pete Davidson's a huge Kid Cudi fan. Um, those are both good musical cues, both effective. I thought one of the more jarring ones was when they're about to do the fights at the restaurant after hours. They drop 504's "Big Drip." I was
Yeah,
like, that shit is not being played at some Staten Island ass restaurant. I'm sorry.
yeah, that and they play explosions in the sky when they do like the firefighter scene. It just felt like I don't know if it was not edited in well enough for me. I just felt like a bit of like a jarring moment with that drop. But overall, I mean, very little that I would take away from this movie. I think this is an achievement, and just feels like Pete's stock keeps rising. So I'm gonna buy now and sell later if I need to. But he's 25, 26. Like
Something like that, yeah. Maybe he's what, 93, 92?
he got the shout out in the Chappelle special we talked about, 846.
Yep, yeah. Pete Davidson is 26, and yeah, it's time for him to get off SNL. He's an actor, and he's not a
Yeah,
big part of SNL as it is. So what are we doing here?
yeah, I agree. His stand up probably the least favorite thing I've seen him in last year. So do more movies, Pete, please. Um, any last thoughts before we move on to
First
DeFonto?
Apatow film in 5 years. Kind of sneakily been a while for when he actually directed. He did a lot of TV and stuff of late, but
Was it
first
Trainwreck?
one's Trainwreck. Yep,
Yeah,
2015.
this is a good avenue for Apatow, letting these up and coming comedians kind of rate their story and helping them tell it. I think is he's really good at that. So